The Ottoman Empire's brutal conquest of Constantinople in 1453 resulted in the slaughter of over 4,000 innocent civilians, marking the beginning of a reign of terror that would span centuries. This event would become a pivotal moment in the empire's dark history, as the Ottomans emerged from a small beylik, or principality, founded in northwestern Anatolia in 1299 by the Turkoman tribal leader Osman I. Over the next several decades, Osman's successors would expand their dominion, conquering much of Anatolia and eventually making their way into the Balkans by the mid-14th century, transforming their petty kingdom into a transcontinental empire. The seeds of this empire's tyranny were sown in the early days of its formation, as the Ottomans employed brutal tactics to subdue their enemies and maintain control over their subjects. As the Ottoman Empire continued its relentless march across the continent, it left a trail of devastation and bloodshed in its wake. The empire's expansion into the Balkans was marked by the brutal suppression of local populations, with entire villages being massacred and their inhabitants forced to flee or convert to Islam. The Ottomans' conquest of the region was a calculated and deliberate effort to erase the existing cultural and religious identity of the area, replacing it with their own brand of Islamic dominance. This campaign of terror was orchestrated by the Ottoman leaders, who used their military prowess and strategic alliances to crush any opposition and maintain their grip on power. The conquest of Constantinople in 1453, however, was the crowning achievement of the Ottoman Empire's expansion. Mehmed II, the Sultan who led the siege, was a ruthless and cunning leader who would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. The city, which had been the capital of the Byzantine Empire for over 1,000 years, was breached after a grueling 53-day siege, and its inhabitants were subjected to a brutal slaughter. The streets ran red with the blood of the innocent, as the Ottomans claimed the city as their own and renamed it Istanbul. This event marked the end of the Byzantine Empire and cemented the Ottoman Empire's position as a major world power. The Ottoman Empire's rise to power was marked by a series of brutal and strategic conquests, as the sultans sought to expand their dominion over the known world. Selim I, who ruled from 1512 to 1520, was a particularly notable figure in this regard, as he led the empire to a series of stunning victories against the Mamluks and the Safavids, expanding the empire's borders and adopting the title of Caliph. This title, which was previously held by the Abbasid caliphs, gave the Ottoman sultans a newfound sense of authority and legitimacy, as they claimed to be the leaders of the Islamic world. The Ottoman Empire's military might was matched only by its administrative prowess, as the sultans established a complex system of government that allowed them to maintain control over their vast territories. As the Ottoman Empire continued to expand, it became a major center of trade and culture, with merchants and scholars flocking to its cities from all over the world. The empire's capital, Constantinople, was a particular hub of activity, as it controlled the strategic Bosphorus Strait and was the gateway to the Black Sea. The city was a cosmopolitan melting pot, with Muslims, Christians, and Jews living and working together in a complex web of relationships. However, beneath the surface of this cosmopolitan facade, the Ottoman Empire was a brutal and oppressive regime, where the ruling elite maintained their power through a combination of violence, intimidation, and manipulation. The Ottoman Empire's interactions with Europe were particularly complex, as the two civilizations clashed in a series of brutal and devastating wars. The Ottomans saw themselves as the defenders of Islam, and they viewed the Europeans as infidels who needed to be conquered and converted. The Europeans, on the other hand, saw the Ottomans as a threat to their very way of life, and they fought back with all their might. The wars between the Ottomans and the Europeans were marked by atrocities on both sides, as the two civilizations clashed in a struggle for dominance. The Ottoman Empire's military campaigns against the Europeans were marked by a series of brutal sieges and massacres, as the Sultans sought to expand their empire into the heart of Europe. Despite its reputation for brutality, the Ottoman Empire was also a center of learning and culture, as scholars and artists flocked to its cities from all over the world. The empire's sultans were patrons of the arts, and they commissioned many magnificent buildings, including mosques, palaces, and bridges. The Ottoman Empire's architectural legacy can still be seen today, in the magnificent cities of Istanbul, Cairo, and Damascus. However, even in the midst of this cultural flowering, the Ottoman Empire's dark underbelly was always present, as the ruling elite maintained their power through a combination of violence and intimidation. As the Ottoman Empire began its long decline in the 19th century, its legacy of brutality and oppression continued to haunt the world. The empire's collapse was marked by a series of brutal and devastating wars, as the different ethnic and national groups that had been held together by the Ottoman Empire's iron fist began to break apart. The Armenian Genocide, which was perpetrated by the Ottoman Empire during World War I, was a particularly horrific example of the empire's brutality, as hundreds of thousands of innocent civilians were massacred and forced to flee their homes. The Ottoman Empire's dark history continues to cast a shadow over the world today, as the legacy of its brutality and oppression continues to shape the modern world. In the end, the Ottoman Empire's reign of terror lasted for centuries, leaving behind a trail of bloodshed, devastation, and despair. The empire's legacy is a complex and multifaceted one, marked by both cultural and intellectual achievements, as well as brutal and oppressive tactics. As we look back on the Ottoman Empire's dark history, we are reminded of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of protecting human rights and dignity. The Ottoman Empire's story is a haunting reminder of the horrors that can occur when a regime is allowed to rule with impunity, and its legacy continues to haunt us to this day, a chilling reminder of the importance of vigilance and the need to protect humanity from the forces of darkness that lurk in the shadows, waiting to strike.